I am a human design guide. What I'm doing here is a human design overview. The reason why I say that is that I just want to differentiate that it's not a foundational reading. A human design overview, what we do here, we go over how a person understands how to say yes and no for their life, their person, their own unique self. A foundational overview goes over different things in a very jargon kind of way. So I've created this experience so that people can really understand what's the most important part of understanding human design, and that's understanding how they say their yes and no. So it's not the foundational reading. This is an overview. Um, so we understand how to say our yes and no based on who we are. So I'm going to be dividing this experience up into two different portions. We're going to be dividing it up into what we need to know 100% and brain candy. So we're obviously going to start with what we need to know. Let's start with what we need to know. Hazardous waste, you are a generator. It's not that you're meant to understand what this is supposed to mean, but if we were to compare it to a different modality like astrology, this would be saying, like, oh, you're a Capricorn, oh, you're a Gemini, right? So that's it. That's your type. You're a generator. As a generator, you are here to respond with your sacral. Now, I know that is a bunch of jargon, but let's run through what that actually means in your terms of saying yes or no. We'll go over the brain candy of what all of that means later. So you are here to say uh huh or You've been gifted with those sounds. Has. So you're a generator. You're here to respond with your sacral. That sacral gives those sounds. Uh huh, and oh, maybe someone catches you off guard and you say, because you really don't know how to react. Or maybe you have these sounds like a child or a baby has when a baby likes something. When they like it, they make this sound like ooh. Or when they don't like something, they push it away from themselves and say eh, mm-mm. So, as a generator, you have been gifted with these sounds of uh-huh and and oh. And if the answer is I don't know, then the answer truly is you don't know. Let's talk about this. You're a generator here to respond, but you aren't supposed to be asking yourself questions from your own head. It doesn't matter who we're talking to, whether it's hazardous waste or if we're talking to someone else. You're not supposed to be making decisions from the mind. I should, I could, I have to. Mm-mm. We are making decisions. I don't know where I started with saying that. What was I saying? Darn it. We are not here to make decisions from the mind. So we're not here to ask ourselves questions. That's not what a response is. Let me go over what a response means to you. Has. Response means I don't know. These caveman sounds that we just ran over. And it's usually external cues. So, for instance, you guys saw that I was responding very agitatedly and frustrating, like in a very frustrated way to my scenario that just happened. I'm a generator, so I very much respond to things in the moment right now. So, my cat was meowing, um, the doors were creaking open, maybe I was taking on my fiance's energy and I was feeling his energy, but I was responding to being agitated in that particular moment. I responded to putting Storm elsewhere so that he could meow elsewhere. Um, and I responded to not starting this professional human design until all of the distractions were gone out of the environment. So just because people weren't talking to me, I definitely responded to put the cat out, let Matey leave in an orderly fashion, and let myself calm down. That's how I responded. So it could be a question being directly asked to you. So maybe somebody asks you if you want to go to the store and you're like, So the answer is that you should not go to the store. And we get that directly from your response mechanism. So a choice mechanism, a response mechanism, your strategy and authority. It doesn't matter who we're talking to. Once again, if it's Has or if it's someone watching, this is how you make your proper choices in life. So once again, if we understand how to make our proper choices, we are then allowing our purpose to flow through us. And our purpose is our incarnation cross. So we understand how to say our and and oh. And I've really only described half of the equation of what is an and We talked about environmental cues. So cats, sounds, partners, people, environments. Um, I did talk about how environmental cue was one of them. I said that how asking yourself a question isn't a proper way to ask yourself a question. Like, hey, myself, do I feel like doing this? That's not the proper way to use your energy. What needs to happen is that you need to respond to something. So, what are we even talking about? Am I saying that the ideas that flick through your brain, like, you shouldn't respond to or do anything about? No, 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 I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you set out purposeful intention to change your life direct based on, like, I should, I would, I could, what's next, I have to, that's where things aren't gonna go right. Um, so you are here to respond to life, and some of the things that pop into your head, you're gonna respond to them too. So maybe some shiny, frilly thing going by, you're like, ooh, I like it. So you participate or not, that's for you to respond to. And just because you've you've initially responded and it doesn't mean that it's always going to be something that you commit to. Because sometimes things change. We have this attraction, we pull away from it, we come together with it. Um, but yeah, just because we respond to entering into a contract, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be something that we partake in. And what's interesting is that since everything is nicely flowing, is that we're getting into some of the brain candy here. So we're switching gears a little. No, we're not going to switch gears. We're not deep enough into what a response is yet. So you're a generator here to respond. This is the place where you get your response from. Your I don't know, or ooh, or ah. So, um, we were talking about how questions internally, asking yourself, aren't isn't the way to maneuver through this experience, but um, there are going to be bodily cues that you need to respond to, such as I need to pee. So you're going to respond to doing that. Um, I need to eat because my tummy is at the point of hangry now. You're going to respond to doing that. So those are the internal cues that I'm talking about of response. There's really no other internal cues that you're going to be looking for. Um, those like responses in the moment are what you're looking for. They're going to keep you healthy and safe. So let's just say that on your way to your brother's house this weekend you stopped at the store and you got yourself some OJ and then you kept on going. You're like, well, why the F did I get OJ? My typical drink is like a Red Bull. Why did I get OJ? Like that natural letting yourself get some vitamin C when your body naturally went to it and you continued buying vitamin C, obviously your body was trying to keep you healthy or safe in the meantime. So like those instantaneous movements in the moment are things that you should pay attention to because they're keeping you safe. You're going to the bathroom, you got derailed by taking a drink of water before you went to the bathroom. That's something you should let your body do because it's moving yourself towards natural safety. But it's never about like, should I drink water to keep myself healthier? No, that's not a question. That's not something that we should be responding to. Um, so your aha and are internal cues. Oh, I'm finished resting. Oh, I gotta go for a walk. Because I'm too restless. Um, or just external cues like I had just experienced with this craziness in the background of the cat making too much noise. My fiance distracted me on his way out, etc. So um, maybe it could just be a little question of, hey, Haz, do you want to do this? Like, hey, Haz, do you want pizza? Uh huh, Mm-hmm. What kind of pizza? Fish pizza. I don't want fish pizza. So just because the answer is I don't know, it just means that the question isn't correct at this particular moment. Maybe it could be answered or asked a different way. Maybe in 5 minutes it will be a yes. So you are here to say uh-huh and uh-uh. Now, what's coming to mind is there's a lot of different things that I respond to in life. A lot of things that are shiny and frilly and I want to do them. So I actually write them down. So like when an idea comes at me, person, place, or thing, I write it down. And then I go through the list when I'm bored and I'm like, do I want to do this? Uh-uh. No. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Then I just keep on flipping pages. Sometimes I never see anything that I want to do, so I just don't. Sometimes I respond to doing something on that to-do list and I do it. Uh-huh. Let's do it. So just because I've responded once to saying uh-huh to it doesn't mean that it's always going to be correct for me. And just because I responded uh-huh to it doesn't mean that I have to externalize it to the world immediately. Because, for instance, over 5 years ago, I responded uh-huh to putting together um, a gemstone deck of cards for myself for when I travel so I don't have to carry about 200 gemstones with me. Just because I responded to creating my own deck of gemstones, um, it doesn't mean that it had to be initiated right away. And it's still pending. And I'm still happy that it's pending because I don't believe I have the proper network, the proper skills, or the proper intelligence to be able to put together a proper deck of cards yet. So I'm glad that I haven't initiated that response to putting something out into the world. So just because you respond to something doesn't mean that you actually have to do it. Um, Now let's talk about going into the brain candy because we've officially explained everything we need to know about how this person, how hazardous waste says their yes and their no. And once again, why would we say or understand our proper choice mechanism, our proper response mechanism? Well, it's so that we can make correct choices for ourselves. So, I mean, that's great. But what's even better is knowing that when we make those proper choices, if our body said uh-huh and we followed that uh-huh, or if our body said uh-uh and we followed that uh-uh. If we decide to follow those, we are allowing our purpose to flow through us. Once again, your purpose is a right angle cross of tension, 39, 38, 21, 48. Now, we're not going to talk about purpose today because I've told you many times that the way to get from point A, which is now, to your purpose is to point B is by using your strategy and authority, understanding your yes and no, and one choice at a time. You're allowing your purpose to flow through you. So that's how we get there. Now, if you want to Google your purpose, make sure that you include all of the words included in the incarnation cross phrase. So right angle cross of tension, make sure to also include all of the numbers as well. Now, here's a little something that I have to tell all of you. Although I'm a human design guide, I never resonated with my incarnation cross or my profile, mainly up until maybe a year or two ago, because I still was so far away from who I really was in life that I still wasn't really resonating with what my purpose was. But now I wholeheartedly, 100% am, I believe, living my purpose and allowing my purpose to flow through me every day. So, yeah, if you want the brain candy, you can go ahead and Google your incarnation cross, which once again is your purpose. But the only reason why I'm saying that about myself is that I don't want people to get discouraged when they see their purpose and they're like, that's not me. Mainly because that's what I did too. And I'm an analyst of this experience, so I could understand how we end up feeling that things in this chart don't belong to us. But it's mainly because we're not ourself. We don't recognize it because we're not ourself, our true self. And by getting to our true self, you just have to say your uh-huh and uh-uh. Now, as I've said, we are going to be talking about brain candy, and we've already started talking about that brain candy. Let us go over all of these fun little words down here. Let's start with the bottom one, the not self theme. This one's going to take a while to explain, so you just sit back and relax. So we're into the brain candy of this chart. Not self theme, frustration. What does not self even mean? Not self means that maybe your body said, uh-huh, and you were too afraid and you decided not to do it. That is not self. You're going opposite as to what your energy told you to do. So that's what not self is. So maybe trauma happened and we changed ourselves. We have these coping mechanisms. Maybe we say things like, oh, that person over there is doing it better, so I'm going to change myself to be like this person over there because they seem to be successful doing that thing, so I'm going to do that thing. Those are kind of not self-expressions. I should, I would, I could, I have to. So the not self theme that comes from being a generator, if we're not listening to ourself and our trajectory and our energy, we find ourselves frustrated in life. Let's talk about that for a little. Let's get some jargon in here. 70% of the world is a generator. So that means that 70% of the world are running around frustrated. So that means that 70% of the people who are listening to this right now may resonate with what I'm saying. So I'm going to ask you, viewers, lurkers, where are you frustrated in life? Some things could have popped into your head. Frustration is a key indicator that something needs to change in your life. Now, just because I said change, it doesn't mean start something or quit something. Frustration is just a key indicator that something needs to change. So those things, when I ask the question, where are you frustrated in life? Well, what we do then is that we have those scenarios. We've talked about we need to respond to life. What are we going to happen when it comes to us? We're not thinking or trying to strategize in our head how we're going to fix it. No. So let's think about all of those things that make us frustrated in life. Now, in the moment, you are supposed to respond to how to change that. There is absolutely no advice that I can give to you other than use your strategy and authority, use your choice mechanism, use your energy to respond to how that frustration needs to change. Once again, just because I said something needs to change, it doesn't mean you need to start or quit something. Something just needs to change. For example, I was at a job where I was super effing frustrated. I didn't need to quit. It was my boss that needed to get fired. And once he got fired, my frustration just like completely went away. It was beautiful. So I wasn't the problem. My boss was the problem. He was what made me frustrated. I didn't need to quit. It was the scenario that needed to change. Now, it's very rare that we have the chance to have a boss leave. So usually it's the other way around, right? We end up having to leave because our bosses suck. So frustration is a key indicator in your life. Now, over in the energetic realm, people say things like namaste, peace, love, and light, which is cute and fun, but we don't take into consideration all of those negative energies like anger and disappointment and frustration. These are indicators. In my opinion, these emotions that you're expressing are up-level indicators. So your anger in life, your frustration in life, or your disappointment in life are places where things need to change. And how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to respond to the situation when it comes to. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is your profile. We're not going to dig into this because you can literally have 20 hours of readings just basically on who you are on the foundational level. So, what is a profile? We can explain a profile as your costume that you wear in the stage of life. So if you were playing a Broadway play in the stage of life, this is your character. You are a 1-3. So this is your character on the stage of life. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because I feel like this is where a lot of my physical conundrums came from. Now, I've always felt like I was beautiful, but I never truly loved my whole self. And I believe that this is where it came from. Like I felt uncomfortable in my own body. Now, let's talk about that. Let's just say that you are a character on the stage of life and you're about to get in costume and you are 6'7", but they give you a costume for a person who's only 5 foot tall. Now, that costume is going to be very uncomfortable. It's not going to fit too well. It's going to maybe even break. It's not going to feel good. So it's very, very important that a person uses their yes and no, their strategy and authority, their choice mechanism and what they need in life to guide them, because then you are allowing your team of seamstresses, I guess you could say, to put on the proper costume in life. Profile and incarnation cross, which is, your costume in life, who you are in life, and your purpose in life, they aren't true until you start saying your yes and no properly for who you are. Let's talk about your profile though. What a 1-3 is. What a 1-3 is, from my point of view, is someone who likes to investigate things. Maybe the ground never feels solid beneath your feet, so it feels like quicksand maybe. So that's the reason for your investigation. You're gonna learn, and try to feel like there's a solid ground beneath your feet. And you would really only feel comfortable externalizing that research until you're super certain. Um, so another part of who you are is um, breaking bonds and coming back together. Trial and error, exper- um, experimenting, I guess you could say. So the way that I see this is like, how do I know I want to do something until I've tried it? And that's with my business. That's like the experimental part of me. Um, but maybe you're a person who may seem clumsy. Maybe you're a person who breaks things a lot. Maybe you're a person who seems to find the error in things. And that's who you are. And that's okay. Without a person like you, without that, foundational investigation, without you tearing shit apart and bringing it back together, there would be no foundation. Without people like you in the world, hazardous waste, there would be no foundation. You are resilient beings. And although people who have this experiential, let's trial and error life, they they're a little bit more resilient than most. They could take a little bit more um, than most. They're built to be strong, even though at times a person may feel weak. What's interesting is that, let's just say, people around you are trying to force you to be something. Their perspective and looking at you would be, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you always breaking shit? Why? Why? Why did that break again? So those are like negative words. What they really should be saying is, yo, it's really awesome that you found what was wrong with this system. How can we fix it together? That's truly what should be said. So there's nothing wrong with your trial and error. There's nothing wrong with you experimenting. There's nothing wrong with you coming together, pulling apart, coming together again. It's who you are. And once again, we need people like you. You're resilient. All right, let's talk about this split definition that my mouse is pointing at. Split definition, all it's saying is that your energy needs a little bit more time than the spontaneous, instantaneous person. So you do have this response mechanism in the moment, but you can't be spontaneous about it because you don't have access to spontaneity. So you should really do your trial and error investigative process about the thing that you've responded to see if that's what you want to do. So what's pretty cool about this experience is that we can tell what environment you need to be in to be successful. We can see the problems that you see in the world. We can see the type of people that you need to be around also to be successful, like the people that you should keep around you. We can talk about health and how whatever we're talking about affects your health. We could talk about business. We could talk about a bunch of a bunch of different things. We can talk about your first half of your life where you see yourself going, your second half of your life where you see yourself going. We can talk about yearly forecasts of what exactly you should be seeing upcoming in the next year. So there's a bunch of different things that we can be doing with this chart. So many different things. The main thing is to know that it is you. So what's really cool about this is that whatever is colored in is who you are as a person. So that's you. And you're perfect just the way you are. You are so unique. You are so differentiated. There is no one around here like you. So with that being said, is that you are perfect the way you are. The brain likes to think otherwise. Good old brain. So let's talk about that. So the brain likes to think things like, well, why would I want to be me? That's so boring. So all of the stuff that is colored in here is you. And for some reason, the brain thinks it's boring. So the brain likes to say, oh, I want to be something that I'm not. And that's where the not self comes in. So all of this colored in stuff, whether it's little gates, the lines, the centers, doesn't matter. That's who you are. The colored in stuff, the defined stuff. That's you. It makes up you. But all of the white stuff in the chart, that is not you. Now, I'm not saying that you can't play in these areas. No. What I'm saying is that don't identify with these areas. They're not you. So let's talk about some of the things that you are and some of the things that you are not. So you are a person who understands how to have a fixed timing or a fixed adrenaline in life. You know your own timing and pressure. You actually know it very, very well. There ain't going to be anybody who budges you if you don't want to move first. You know when enough is enough. You know what is healthy for you or not, whether it be people, places, or things. You know your fixed way of identifying with yourself, so love, identity, or direction. And you have a fixed way of externalizing all of that. Now, because of how your chart's made up, most of the pressure is not going to be on the centers. It's actually going to be in the little spaces in your chart. So what's interesting is that maybe you feel pressured to be this person right here, this little 9, because it helps connect your definition that's been split off from one another and make it a full set of definition. So maybe you try to be the 9. Maybe you try to be the 27. Maybe you try to be the 18 or 28. So I know that's a bunch of jargon, but that's okay. Let's talk about this. A lot of people feel like that's what's wrong with themselves, and they have to fill in the blanks to make themselves feel whole. That's all I'm saying. It's not true. Remember, I said the brain likes to think that there's a problem in the chart, but there's no problem because you're perfect the way you are. So if you want to know more about this you can Google what gate 18 is, what gate 28 is, what gate 9 is, what gate 27 is. But it doesn't really matter what those are anyway, because what you should be doing is leaving all of this brain candy behind and using your strategy and authority or your choice mechanism to understand your yes and your no, understanding how you say uh-huh and uh-uh to allow you to guide you through the proper people, places, and things or details needed in order for you to be able to succeed in the things that you respond to. You don't have to go looking for the energy here, 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 or here, right? There's nothing wrong with you. You know, in a relationship reading, we usually expect the other person to fulfill these pieces. And if they don't, it's more like, well, what's wrong with you? Except you were just looking for some characteristics that might make you feel whole. So there's nothing wrong with you or the other person you're with. It just is. There's nothing wrong with them. Their energy just is. And it just happens to be that your energy is looking for this, or this to make your energy feel like it's one. Remember, there's nothing wrong with your energy. You are who you are. And the only thing that I have to say once again is use your uh-huh and uh-uh to guide you through the things that you're supposed to be committed to or not. And that just because you responded uh-huh and uh-uh in the moment, it doesn't mean that you need to initiate it or action it right away. Nope. Nope. Maybe you may feel like you need to find these fixed patterns or to find your rhythm and flow, to know what to correct or to know what's worth correcting or what's been spoilt, to risk take or be a risk taker or know what's worth struggling for. So these are like all not self things that you're trying to grasp onto, possibly, possibly trying to grab onto, showing that you care and that you can persevere. So these are all not self expressions of you. And maybe when you can't persevere or you can't care, you feel like you're broken, but it's not true. Maybe when you feel like you can't find the fixed patterns or have things organized, that you're broken, but it's not true. Maybe you feel that when you can't correct things or bring the collective to the next place of betterness, that you're broken. No, you're not. Mm-mm. Maybe you feel broken when you can't take risks, or when you take risks, it backfires on you. You're not broken. So those are the places in your chart where you would feel the most conditioned to be. But let's just talk about the centers. Maybe you may not know what to think or may not know what to find interesting, so you find yourself scrolling on TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Maybe, remember, these are less pressured than these here. So this is wide open. Maybe you may feel like you may prove like you have to know, or maybe you just feel like you have nothing to prove at all in your brain. It just is. Maybe it's quiet one moment, maybe it's buzzingly active the next moment. This is where anxiety comes in. So if you're not working in your true self, remember, I'm not a doctor. If you're not working in your true self, if you're not responding to life, maybe you might have more anxiety because this is wide open. So maybe you avoid confrontation and truth. Maybe you're a person who says, yeah, your haircut is great, when in all fact it's ugly. So these are where white lies come to be. So that's not self, right? Our brain trying to act as if this is us. Not self-expression here would be avoiding confrontation and truth. So maybe you're telling too many truths. Maybe you're avoiding going to a place to avoid truth. Maybe, okay, so I purposely saved this one to the last because this is kind of an emotionally painful one in my opinion. If a person is acting their not self, so a not self is them living their life for someone else, using strategies to try to get themselves through life instead of letting their energy move them through life. Some of the emotional pain that we might find here, the not self-expression, is I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. I'm going to go harder, better, faster, stronger without being asked to. You know, if a page was asked to be written for an essay, I'm going to do a page and a half. If someone is offering extra overtime at work, I'm going to take it even though it wasn't specifically me who was asked. That's where we see that. And what I have to tell you, loves, is that you have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove to yourself or anybody else. You have nothing to prove. So these feelings of not feeling enough, not deserving, not love, it's just a not self-expression. So how aren't you doing yourself? What can you do for yourself to change that? Remember, you are loved. You are perfect. And you are able to commit to the things that you want to commit to. But the only way that you are able to commit to the things that are worth committing to for you is by using your proper strategy and authority. Now, a lot of people with this open feel like they have commitment issues to people, places, or things. I say I'm going to do it, but I don't. But I bet that when you say, I will, like when Hazardous Waste responds and says, I'm going to do it, you do, and right to the completion. But when people are, remember, 70% of the world are making commitments improperly. So, of course, people are going to feel like they can't make commitments or can't keep their commitments because they're making them improperly. And then they start to get all of these resentment feelings, shameful, I can't commit. Oh, I accidentally committed to something that I didn't want to actually commit to. And then, it's just a vicious cycle of doing things that we don't want to, getting burnt out, and, just sometimes ending not showing up to the commitments that we even committed to. So, with this being undefined, you don't have direct access to willpower or commitment energy. It doesn't mean that you can't. What you need to do is respond to the things that are worth committing to. And I bet you a lot more things are going to get done and a lot more things you're going to say no to because you just know that you can't commit to them because your body said, I just can't. Now, let's go into your definition just for a minute. You are a person who has a design of balanced development. You are able to see things from the beginning to the end. So, a channel of maturation. That is who you are. And you are also a person who is a design of talent, a channel of the wavelength. So you are a person, whether you are conscious of it or not, maybe half conscious, is that you have a talent. You have this one thing that you're supposed to go so deep on in your life and work on it and work on it and be the master of it. So the fact that you are this investigative person originally from your profile, like I said, is perfect. The fact that you're meant to trial and error, break it, bond it, coming back together. And this right here, it's a beautiful combination of energy because you're going in depth, you're getting more detail, you're getting more talent, you're going deeper, right? So, and you're also the prodigal. So your design of the witness. It seems like you have a bunch of different leadership qualities that the coming togetherness is something that's in your energy, provoking, stillness, the fighter, joyous, values, the direction of self. So the only thing I gotta say is that your body probably wants to get rid of this energy here, and this energy here, so it feels super pressured to know what this is, and this is. That's just going super deep. Let's talk about the last thing here. What is your shining light out into the world? What is 70% of who you are? This is your sun here. So your 70% of who you are is supposed to be investigative. It's supposed to, know the foundation. So disengagement is the proper word here for this particular line. Just one moment, please. So provocation, disengagement, the determination when confronted by obstacles to withdraw, but only temporarily. The energy to provoke by refusing to confront obstacles. So this is your shining light into the world. You may be provoked, but you're just going to withdraw, and that's healthy for you. And if anybody ever tries to make you feel guilty for trying to withdraw from situations, it's you. Don't ever let anybody try to make you feel otherwise. So what's also interesting is that this 21 here sits in this center that I said that you probably have a lot of pressure to try to get rid of. So remember, this is the center of trying to prove. So do you feel like you have something to prove or nothing to prove? I'm not sure. There was a different variety of things that we went over in this experience, but so the word that is attached to this center is control. So do you like to be in control? Or do you like that powerlessness? Because that's the word here attached to the 3, powerlessness, where the just are condemned to a futile confrontation with superior forces. Now, I'm a person who understands has a little bit on the personal level. So this whole control slash powerlessness thing really does make complete sense to me. And the fact that you're trialing and erroring this, you're breaking the bond, you're coming back together, you're literally in the middle of that right now. So I would say that you are living your true self quite nicely. So, what's the expanded version of this? Defeat as a survivable humiliation, often acceptable through the abuse of drugs and alcohol, unless one follows one's own material path. Oh, so you really do need to follow your material path. The breaking of the ego by superiors, or total withdrawal, a lack of will for the material path in order to protect the ego. Interesting. Interesting. So that is your shining light out into the world. Um, we could keep on going. Like, what is your ground? What makes you feel grounded in this world? What makes you feel like, what is your driving force in this world? So, your driving force is pressured as well. The fact that we said that you might feel pressured to feel this 9 here, you know, I know I'm just getting really jargony and super deep, and that's why I told you this is only brain candy and you can shut your brain off. But this is your driving force, the 15 here, in your life, the driving force here. So it's quite likely that this is going to be one of the places in your life that you feel the most conditioned to be, especially since it's, you know, going to complete what feels grounding to you or like the driving force in your life. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that is hazardous waste human design experience. Let's go back to the very beginning. What is the point of today? Today's point is to understand how he says yes or no for his energy. Yes or no, strategy and authority. Doesn't matter who we're talking to, that's how you say your yes and no. Why would we want to know that? Because if you understand your yes and no, then you are allowing, if you understand your yes and no, your and you allow yourself to follow that, then you're allowing your purpose to flow through you without needing to get your brain involved, without saying, I have to, I need to, I should, what's next? All you got to do is say and to move you through.